It is my pleasure to be able to introduce the first speaker for this afternoon's convocation. 2 years ago, 2008, she sat in the seat just like you were sitting. A few years before that, I had her in class, and I even remember where she sat in the front row, very attentive and anxious to learn. And I don't think at that point in time we knew, or she knew, what her life would do. I know a lot of you have just finished the class on leadership and management, and some of you probably said, I'm just getting out of school. I'm just going to be a new graduate. Can I really be a leader? Well, this person certainly exemplifies what a leader is. And I could say a lot of words about her, but I would rather read some of the words that she has spoken and spoken about her time in Haiti, because this is where she has been since she graduated from Northeastern University. She was there before the earthquake, and she has been there since the earthquake. So let me just read a little bit of what she has said. Life in Haiti is an adventure. I do things that I never dreamed of. Remove a bullet from a man's back. Find adoptive parents for a 14-year-old orphan. Save a woman's foot from infection and amputation. Hold a 2-year-old child as he dies. The longer I am here, the more I realize that the problems are too big for me. I need to rely on God and His resources if I hope to make a difference. One final sentence that she says, for me, to serve means to love. And she challenges you. I love in Haiti. Where do you love? I'd now like to welcome our speaker, Keziah Furth.
Hello. When I was a kid, I had my life entirely planned out. By the time I was 25, I would be married with at least 2 children. I'd be working part-time as a nurse. I would live in a house with a white picket fence, a cat and a dog, and I'd spend my evenings listening to Red Sox games on the radio. Well, I'm going to be 25 in just a few months, and I think it would be fair to say that my life did not exactly turn out exactly as I planned. It all started junior year of high school when I had the opportunity through the Rotary International to spend a year living abroad in France. I lived with host families, I attended French high school, and I became fully fluent in French. It was a great year making friends, traveling, but more importantly, it was during that time that I began to dream about a slightly different life than the one that I planned out as a little kid. I had decided I wanted to be a nurse when I had my blood taken for the first time as a 5-year-old. My poor mother had to sit down because she got lightheaded, but I thought it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. I was going to be a nurse. And as I got older, I always seemed to be the one putting Band-Aids on my younger siblings or taking care of my neighbors' bloody noses. Yeah, being a nurse would suit me just fine. But while I was living in France, loving the challenge of integrating into a new culture and learning a new language, I started to think that maybe I wanted to do more than nurse in the United States. There are so many countries where people don't have access to any medical care, I thought to myself. Why don't I take my French language skills and my experience traveling and go work somewhere out of the ordinary, like French-speaking Africa, for example? So when I applied to nursing school here at Northeastern, that was my objective. Learn skills here and go use them abroad. I was able to do my first co-op in Brussels, Belgium, working on a diabetic unit and volunteering at the Belgian Red Cross. It wasn't the type of work that I imagined I would be doing in the future, but I wanted to improve my medical French. The next year, I met a gentleman at my church who was on the board of an orphanage in Haiti. Now, to be totally honest, I'd never thought about Haiti before. In fact, I couldn't have even found Haiti on the map. But the more I heard about Haiti, I just couldn't get it out of my mind. So I coordinated with that orphanage for me to go and spend 5 days there. At the end of my stay, one of the orphan boys looked up at me and he said, "Are you going to forget about us?" That was it. I was hooked. My final co-op at Northeastern was spent there at that orphanage in one of the slums of Port-au-Prince, the capital of Haiti. With my French background, I quickly picked up Creole, the everyday language of the Haitian people. I taught English, tutored and mentored teens, coached sports, and fell so deeply in love with Haiti that I had to force myself to come back to the US to finish my degree. I maintained my relationship with Haiti through multiple trips senior year, including a medical mission that 10 of my nursing classmates accompanied me on. And when I graduated from Northeastern, I moved to Haiti. Jobs for new nurses were already becoming a little bit scarce, so I think my classmates were thrilled that I was leaving. One less person to compete with. I was thrilled too, but of course I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Haiti's the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, as I'm sure you've heard in the past few months. Infant mortality and the rate of AIDS and HIV 10 times higher in Haiti than they are in the United States. 25% of the children are malnourished. Only half of the population is literate. Life expectancy is only 57 years. Port-au-Prince, where I live, is a cramped dust bowl of 3 million people. Things that you and I take for granted don't exist in Haiti. There's no proper sewage system, no waste removal system, no mail delivery system, intermittent electricity and water. It's a completely different world. So in 2008, after graduating and passing my boards, sort of important, I moved into a home for infants and toddlers who were malnourished or sick. We battled to save the lives of children who arrived weighing maybe 12 pounds at age 2. Children with meningitis, children with severe protein deficiency, children with AIDS. I also worked in one of the slum neighborhoods, visiting children at their homes. Because there were no doctors available to them, I essentially became a doctor for them, diagnosing, prescribing medications. I had a community health worker who worked alongside me delivering those medications every morning and every afternoon. And in addition to that, I served as a medical liaison for medical missions that come down to Haiti, both private groups and the United States military. I coordinated clinics for those teams, finding translators, setting up clinics, signing up the patients, just making sure they had whatever resources they needed. And then in 2009, I began to work with an organization called Angel Missions Haiti. I was able to continue all of my former work, but I also began to arrange medical visas for children with conditions too complicated to treat in Haiti. So by January of this year, I was very settled in. I had a job that kept me busy and challenged me every day. I had a new apartment, was just getting to be friends with some of my neighbors. I had a community of other foreign workers who were very close with me because of the common experiences that we share. I had a home church and a commitment as a leader at the youth group at that church. My life was quite comfortable, and by Haiti standards, it was under control. Then the earthquake happened.